Hey, today I'm going to show you how I made this really cute dress, so if you'd like to see how I did that, just keep on watching. So first off, here is just what I used, some fabric and an old dress. So first off, I've just laid the fabric out on the floor and I used just a dress that I had already. This is actually a dress that I made. I will link the description below if you're interested in seeing how I made that green dress. And I just use this as a reference dress because I know that it fits me. And here you can see just draw all around it to make the front piece. So for the back piece we're going to need two pieces. So I'm just folding it in half and drawing around it. And then I just flip it over and do the same with the other side. So now I'm ready to cut it out. So here I have the three pieces. So this was the fabric that was left. I'm just going to cut it in half and use it for my sleeves. So first off, we're going to sew the zipper in the two back pieces. Here I'm just showing the zipper and how I'm going to attach it. So I'm just going to turn it with the right side down on top of my right side of my fabric, right here where I'm pointing. So you want to sew as close to the middle of the zipper as you can. And I'm sewing this with a straight stitch on my sewing machine. So when that is done, it's going to look something like this. So now we're going to sew the zipper on the other piece. So here I'm just flipping it over. I'm gonna sew across where I'm just pointed. Here I'm just showing you up close. So now the zipper is sewn in and it looks like this. So now we're just going to fold it in half and pin the bottom together. All the way up to the zipper and just sew across that with a straight stitch. So now we have the complete back piece and the front piece. So here we're going to lay the front and the back piece on top of each other with the right side on the inside. So the right sides are kissing. And then we're going to pin them together on the two sides. Just like that. And then we're going to sew along the sides. So my piece was actually a little bit too small, so I just sewed in a little triangle piece up at the top of the dress because it was a bit too small for my bust. I totally forgot to film that part, but it just looks like this. I just cut a little triangle and sewn that in. So now we're going to sew the elastic line in the dress, and we are basically going to sew it 4 centimeters from your side seam on both front and back piece. So that means it's going to be 8 centimeters between your 2 elastic lines. And I just drew mine on the first one here, and I wrote my measurements on the screen. I made a big curve on the top, as I'm showing you here in the video. So you're basically just going to make 4 of these rows and just sew down with elastic in your bobbin. And then we're just going to sew with elastic. So now that is done, we're going to cut the dress that I'm going to put on the inside. This is optional, and the only reason I'm doing this is because my fabric is a little bit see-through. So I just had this old dress that I could use because I did use that. So here I'm just cutting it so the shape will fit. And I'm gonna sew across it while we just cut it up. And I'm going to put the pink inside of the red fabric. And then we're going to match up the seams on the side. Just like this. So now we're just going to make the top seam. So I'm just gonna fold the fabric down on both of the fabrics, like I'm showing you here, and just continue to do that all the way around. And I'm also going to sew that with a straight stitch. Now all the pins are in, and this is what it looks like. So now I just pull the fabric a little bit to the zipper because we're going to open that up and cut the fabric, and I'm going to show that in just a minute. So if you're working with stretchy fabric, you can just pull it a little bit so I have a little extra fabric. So now I just sew the top seam, and I'm going to cut it right down the middle. I'm not gonna cut it all the way, but I'm just gonna show you the top. So I'm folding the pink fabric in and just holding it in place with some pins. And I'm going to do this all the way down the zipper and just sew it with a straight stitch. And this will hold both the pink and the red fabric in place. Now we're going to do the sleeves. I already just folded them and sewed them together. So mine is a little bit bigger on one side, so that's going to be the shoulder. So here I just marked off 12 centimeters. That is where we're going to attach it to the dress. So here is the elastic that I'm going to sew in. And I'm just making my line so I can fold the fabric and still see it. And then we're going to sew all the way. So here is the first of my 2 lines. And then I'm going to sew in the elastic. Remember to pull the elastic while sewing. And I'm just folding the fabric as I'm going. So here you can see my other line, and that is just where I'm going to cut it off. To have that 12 centimeters where there is no elastic. So now we're just going to hem the other side of the fabric, the other side of the sleeve, just like this. And now we're going to sew an elastic in. And this I'm going to sew in about 3 centimeters in. So now the sleeve is done. I also did the other sleeve. So now we're just going to sew it on the dress. And we're going to sew it where there's no elastic, so that 12 centimeters we marked. And I'm just lining it up in the side seam. Just like this. So now just sew across with a straight stitch, and this is what it's going to look like when it's done. So now I've sewn my sleeves on, and the only thing that's left is the bottom hem. I'm just going to fold it and sew across all the way around, and then your dress is done. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I really love this dress. It was super easy to do, and it really looks beautiful. I hope to see you around here on my channel. Please subscribe if you haven't done already. I upload every Thursday. So I hope to see you next week. Bye.